Hello, good morning, and welcome back again to BPS. So, I welcome you all to the weekly newspaper and analysis class of the Assam Tribune newspaper. So, as you all know, we do it on a weekly basis. So, every week you can follow us every Sunday at 7 a.m. So, in this week, we are going to cover all the important news items from the date of 27th of July to the 2nd of August. Okay. So first let's begin with what is on the 27th of July, Moidams. So as you all know now, Moidams have been they have been nominated, and they have been actually not nominated but included in the list of the World Heritage Sites. So the nomination was actually filed many years back, and it was under scrutiny. Now the UNESCO includes Moidams in the World Heritage list. The announcement was made at the 46th session of the World Heritage Committee. So this is a big news for us because the Soraido Moidams, which is an ancient mound burial system of the Ahom dynasty from Assam, were officially inscribed on the July 26. Now this recognition marks the Moidam as a 43rd property from India to be included in the prestigious list. Now there can be many different questions in your prelims for your next year. Like for example, the question I might ask you about, like what is the number, how many World Heritage Site have been included from India in the UNESCO World Heritage Site list. So the total number will be 43. Okay, because it is the 43rd property from India, and already we have two, for example, the Kaziranga National Park and the Manas National Park, which are already in the UNESCO Heritage Site list. So when some historical property or some sort of cultural property is been included in the UNESCO World Heritage Site, it becomes one of the big movement for that country. Why? Because first of all, it gets a lot of funds for the maintenance of that system, and secondly, it becomes one of the main asset for the growth of the tourism in the country. Now since the Moidams have been included in the World Heritage Site, so now lot of other foreigners and other Indians will come and visit this place. So this is going to increase the tourism of that specific area. Now the Moidams are actually a 700-year-old burial systems which highlights Assam's rich cultural heritage. But later when it was actually started by Sukafa, but later when the Ahoms adopted the Hindu customs from the time of Rani Fuleshwari, then they have actually discontinued the system of the ancient burial. But since from that time to the 17th of the century, they have actually continued the system. But after 17th century, before the Momaria revolt, the Siva Singha and his wife Fuleshwari Devi, when they adopted the Hindu customs and traditions, they actually discontinued this practice. Now Assam already has two other World Heritage Sites, which are Kaziranga and the Manas. And the Moidams, they actually showcase a deep spiritual beliefs, the architectural skills, and the civilizational history. Now out of 386 Moidams, 90 royal burials are in Soraido, are among the best preserved and the most complete example of these traditions. Now many of you might not know, because the burial system used to be different for the different designation of the Ahom monarchy. For example, the monarchy will have a royal burial systems, then next to it will be the Borfukons, or you can say the Bura Guhai or the Borpatra Guhai, then will come the rest of the nobles and the ministers. So likewise, so there used to be a hierarchy of the system in terms of the burial system. And even now many of the burial systems have actually been found in the backyard of many people's houses. Okay, but out of this 386 Moidams have been explored right now. Now this is not a total number of the burials, because many of them have been extinct, or many of those locations cannot be traced. But as of now, only 386 Moidams have been discovered so far, and 90 royal burials are actually located in the Soraido, because till the middle of the 13th century, or you can say the end of the 13th century, Soraido used to be the capital of the Ahoms, and then they shifted to different places. So the burial system also spread to a large number of the area. Now, politics and the diplomacy. India US sign agreement for retrieval of the antique objects. Now we know that many antique objects have been smuggling out of India to the rest of the country, and in lieu of preserving those antiques and bringing them back to their parent country, now India and US have signed an agreement. Now India and US signed their first cultural property agreement during the 46th World Heritage Committee. The CPA aims to prevent illegal trafficking of Indian antiquities, which are as per the 1970 UNESCO Convention. So the 1970 UNESCO Convention says that we need to preserve the ancient antiquities, like for example the Hindu idols or the craftsmanship of that period of time. So many people, they smuggle all these to different places and then they sell it at a black market. But according to the 1970 UNESCO Convention, this is actually a cultural asset of a particular country and the smuggling cannot be entertained. So but India and US have now entered into this agreement as per the rules of the 1970 convention, and they have said that in case if we find like smuggle items to and fro from each of these countries, then we will have a separate procedure of returning those antiquities back to their parent country. Now the CPA targets the illegal import, export and the transfer of these. Now many Indian artifacts were smuggled before the 1970 convention, because before the 1970, during the British era, you can say, or after the Britishers actually left from 1950s onwards, there has been a lot of smuggling of these antiquities and these artifacts to the rest of the country. Now these have been illegally smuggled. Now we don't know many of their locations. Now those which were actually found by the Britishers were actually taken back to the British Museum, and that is why we know that it is there. But those who are not having or those antiquities which have not found a place in any of the world museum, those antiquities, if they are later discovered at a very later age, but if they have been found like this is actually a cultural property of this country, then it can be returned back. Okay, now India has repatriated 358 antiquities since 1976, and the US offered 1440 artifacts for the repatriation in 2023. So both of these countries have actually repatriated. Now, returned artifacts will likely go back to the Indian states, and the agreement follows extensive negotiations and reflects a heightened focus on the aspect of the cultural preservation. Now, on the 28th of July, we have the award section. Now, Benu Mishra, his award to Animul Haq and the Raman Ingti. Now, Benu Mishra Memorial NRL Award will honor veteran artist Aminul Haq and the emerging artist Raman Ingti. Now, instituted by the Guwahati Artists Guild and supported by Numaligarh Refinery, the award recognizes contributions to art and culture. Now, the person you can see here is actually Benu Mishra, and in his name only this award has been instituted, and he used to be one of the great artists. Now, state and activities, we know that boat clinic program has been launched in the Dorong district. Now, on July 26, a new boat clinic health outreach program was launched in the Dorong district, Assam, to provide medical care to the remote river islands. The initiative developed by Dorong district administration and CNES with support from the Glenmark Foundation. Now this can be a prelims question for you. You can write it down. Maybe on the next year this one can be a prelims question. Now they can ask about the Glenmark Foundation. Okay, what is this Glenmark Foundation, and what has this Glenmark Foundation has been related to? Then in that sense you can say that it is related to the NHM, okay, National Health Mission. Now in terms of the boat clinic, now we know that many river islands have been suffering from disastrous effects after the floods, and because of the disaster not many medical help can reach these islands and help the people who live there. So these boat clinics, they are very essential, or they can be a substitute for the clinic systems. Now this boat clinic is not only filled with doctors or nurses, but also has the minimum requirement of the medical setup. You can get the minimum medical treatment that you can give to someone. Like for example, say now they deliver basic healthcare to the vulnerable communities who live beside the river island and they cannot have easy access to the healthcare. Now boats are equipped with labs and pharmacies and staffed by the medical professionals. Now you will get the blood test. We need labs for the blood test, then we need x-ray report and other stuff. So minimum requirement that we need for giving a medical assistance will everything will be provided in this boat. So this can offer relief to the people who live by the river basins and who cannot have easy access to the healthcare systems. Now CNES has been running similar programs in the 14 Assam districts since 2008 and Dorong is the 15th. Okay, now Dorong becomes the 15th state that has taken this initiative of providing the river healthcare. Now CNES has been running similar programs. Now this can also be a question, so you can write it down. Few details about the CNES program which offers similar kind of health related activities. Now innovation and the education. Nalbari Primary School sets up unique museum. A government run primary school in Mukalmua Nalbari has created museum to preserve traditional bamboo crafts. Now we know that we are again returning back to the state of the art and craft, because we have for a long time the vocational education has always been suppressed. For a long time people have not been encouraged to continue with the vocational education, but now I think the new era, the new age education is promoting vocational education a lot. Why? Because we know we don't only need to learn about maths, physics or maths, physics or chemistry in our classes, but we also need to learn certain art, certain craft or certain vocational training through which we can have at least build a level of our future, because we need skills. Our future generations needs the skills. Now the demographic dividend that is present is not well equipped with the skill education, and that is why they cannot be employed in any sector. That is why many people wait for the government job. So if you don't want to wait for any government job, if you don't want to just give like 10-12 years of your life only to study and only to prepare for government exams, you can continue with any kind of vocational education. You can start your career with that. Now the initial money will not be very good for you, will not be will just be a sustainable amount for you might not have a luxurious life out of it, but you'll be able to get a sustainable living out of it. But as you progress with that skill, as you grow with that skill, you get more number of markets, you get more markets to export your product, and then you can gain a sustainable profit out of your business. Now established 3 years ago by headmaster Kulen Burman with the help of artist Sonaram Das, the museum aims to educate students about these traditional items, because now we are going back again to we are having a hard hitting time on the carbon intensive products. So we are rejecting those carbon intensive products, and we are therefore going back to the nature. So these bamboo products can be a substitute for us right now, because they are natural made products and they are not harmful for the environment. These things are biodegradable and they don't create any kind of land pollution or water pollution whatsoever. So since we are trying to reduce our carbon footprints more and more in our environment, so we need these kind of initiatives more and more. Now infrastructure, we have Viksit Bharat at the 2047 ambition. So Prime Minister Modi analyzed the role of states in achieving the goal of making India as a developed nation by 2047. Now the central government here is giving special focus on the state, because as we know, in the governance sector we need a good coordination between the center, state and the local administration. Now for example, as you are quite aware of the situation in Delhi, that how the Rao's coaching institute, the water was filled in the basement and many students had to lose their life because of this. So why that happened? Because of the negligence of the local government. Now why the local government neglected? Because the local government has to go through many rounds and rounds of coordination among the state and also the central principalities. Now this happens because the governance sector is not very well organized in our country, and until and unless the sector of the governance is not well organized, we cannot expect accountability from the local administration or from the state administration as well. So because of this, Prime Minister Narendra Modi said that the role of state and the center together will be very essential to include India as one of the developed countries by the year 2047. Now this is an ambition, but to achieve that ambition we need to create good steps. We need to develop the correct steps. Now the first step is that to have a good coordination and a good cooperation between the center and the state. Now many state governments are not run by BJPs anymore, so they have lost elections in many states also, and in the upcoming assembly elections in many of the states, we also know that what the verdict will be. So in such cases, it really will become very difficult for the center and the state to work together for the upliftment of the country and to lead India to the ambition of the developed country to be in the year 2047. Now this is the primary question, but in case of governance, now the local administration is not quite involved in the governance. They have to follow every order from the state. But why they have to follow every order from the state? Why the state government cannot give them certain autonomy in the certain sectors? Now making India a developed nation by is a national ambition with states playing a crucial role. The meeting aimed to enhance participative governance. Now the term participative governance is there, but I don't know how far you know about the role of the participative governance in our constitutions. Now many of the time we see that we only talk about participative governance, but we do not follow the principles of the participative governance, because the local administration, as I said, has to be very much very much dependent on the state on all sectors. Now because of this Delhi wala case, now you see MCD is blaming on the state government is blaming on the governor. Now those are the things, because we don't have accountability here, because the entire system is not very well organized, and since it is not very well organized, we cannot expect them to claim the accountability. Now the Niti Aayog Governing Council includes state chief ministers, union territory lieutenant governors and union ministers, and the Prime Minister as the chairman, as you all know. Now the meeting also addressed recommendations from the third National Conference on Chief Secretaries held in December last year. The discussion highlighted the importance of state involvement in the national development. Now, as you are writing the answer, you cannot only maintain the state involvement, you also have to mention the word the local administration, because we have the Panchayati Raj system, and in the Panchayati Raj system we have to include the local governance here. So otherwise we will not be explaining the correct meaning of the term participative governance. So do not forget to include the term local governance here. Now the sports contenders Satvik, Chirag and Sen make confident start in Paris. Now we have a good news in terms of badminton. Now medal contenders Satvik Siraj, Ranki Reddy and Chirag Shetty signaled their intention with an easy straight game victory in the opening group stage men's double match after singles ace Lakshya Sen got his maiden Olympic campaign underway on winning note here on Saturday. So these are the two who won, Satvik Siraj Ranki and the Chirag Shetty. These both are duo, and they have been winning a lot of medals for the men's doubles badminton. The women's double pair of Ashwini Ponappa and Tanisha Krasto, however, lost to South Korea. The third seeded men's double duo of Satvik Chirag, reigning Asian Games Championship, notched up a 21-7 or 21-14 win against a French pair of Lucas Corvée and Lonan Labar in the Group C contest, with Sen beat Tokyo edition semi-finalist Kevin Cotton. So both of them, they have won their different match. On the 29th of July, we have good news from the Olympic sports. Manu Bhekar opens India's medal tally in Paris Olympics. Now Manu Bhekar wins bronze medal in the women's air pistol 10m in Paris 2024. So she has become the first Indian medalist at this year's game and the first female Indian shooter to win an Olympic medal. So before this we had men, the shooter, we had many men who used to earn medal and who used to, for we used to have from India, but she has become the first woman from India to win the medal, the bronze medal or any Olympic medal in terms of the air pistol, which is air firing of the Indian shooter. So congratulations to her. So these are very basic information which will be required for your next year prelims. So be prepared to mark them down. Okay, you can mark this down. Now next we have Baker demonstrated exceptional skills and maintained our top 3 position throughout the event. Now she was in the second place before the final shot but slipped to the third, securing the bronze. Now Baker finally third in qualification with a score of 580 and opens India's medal tally at Paris in 2024. Okay. Next we have from politics and the appointment. LP Acharya appointed as new governor of Assam. Now Lakshman Prasad Acharya will become the new governor of Assam on Tuesday, who will succeed Gulab Chandra Kataria. Now Chief Justice Vijay Bishnoi administered the oath. Now this is a good question. The question might come next year or it might come in the prelims, like who is the Chief Justice of India? Chief Justice of Guwahati High Court, GHC. Okay, in this case you can say Chief Justice Vijay Bishnoi. Now Acharya, a former RSS and BJP member, will also oversee Manipur. So he will become the governor of Assam, but also he will also oversee the governance of Manipur. Now language and culture, we have good news for the Assamese language. PM's intervention is sought on the classical language status to Assamese. Now recent research indicates that Assamese script is much older than previously believed, leading to calls for it to be recognized as Indian classical language. Now we used to believe that that Assamese language originated from the Devanagari script, and many languages have originated from the Devanagari script, but we used to believe that only Tamil, Sanskrit and those languages were the classical language. But recent research have found that Assamese language is much older than what was believed to be, and since it has been researched that it is much older, so government's intervention has been sought to be recognized Assamese as one of the classical languages of India. Now currently only 6 Indian languages they have the status of the classical language, which are Tamil, Sanskrit, Telugu, Kannada, Malayalam and Oriya. So Tamil is considered to be the oldest language, then comes Sanskrit, then Telugu, Kannada, Oriya and the Malayalam. So many of these are all from the South India. Now, Assamese is believed to have date back to the 4th century BC based on findings such as inscriptions and historical texts. So, 4th century BC, this is very long back. Okay, includes high antiquity, a significant body of ancient literature, originality and a clear historical distinction from the modern forms. So, what are the characteristics of a classical language? So, classical language has to have many characteristics. First one is the high antiquity. That means it has to be it has to be very old, and plus it must have a it must be considered as an antique. That's something, a language from where many other languages must have been born. Next is the ancient literature. We must have the ancient literature and a literature which supports that this is the ancient language. Then we should have originality. The language should not be you can say a mix of some other languages, like we have taken from this language, or we have taken words or the syllables or the verbs from different language. So this cannot be. So we must have the originality in the script, and then clear historical distinction, like we have to be distinct from the rest of the classical language. So these are the certain characteristics one language must maintain in order to be recognized as a classical language. Now 4th century BC वाला जो कहानी है, ये बताया गया है कि Assamese लैंग्वेज जो है वो काफ़ी पुराना है, वो 4th सेंचुरी BC तक जा सकता है. और 4th सेंचुरी BC में हमें पता है जब मगध एम्पायर का जब मतलब शुरुआत हुआ था, द मगध एम्पायर एंड ऑल दोज थिंग्स, द कमिंग ऑफ जैनिज्म, these are this is a time period when we actually witness all those things, and this was a time when Pali scripts were written, the Prakrit scripts were written. So many scripts were written at that point of time, because then people used to then people practice the art of writing at that point of time, and they used to develop language. So Assamese can also be one of these oldest language. अभी हमने जो डॉक्यूमेंट्री बनाया है उसको भी देखो, क्योंकि उसमें भी कुछ कंटिन्यूटी के बारे में हमने बताया था कि इंडस वैली सिविलाइजेशन के समय में असम में क्या क्या चीज़ें हुई थी. नाउ वी डोंट हैव रेमिनिसेंस ऑफ द इंडस वैली सिविलाइजेशन इन द नॉर्थ ईस्ट, but there was a different kind of a civilization which existed at the same point of time. Now that might not be as well developed as the Indus Valley, but it is quite different. Now, experts argue that Assamese meets this criteria and should be granted the classical status. Now, it will depend on the central government whether they accept our plea or not. Now, includes awards, establishment of centers of excellence, and funding for research. So, if Assamese gets the status of the classical language, then we will have different awards and excellence centers for excellence and research on that language. Now, scholars and advocates urge the Assam government to present a strong case to the central government on this. Now, on the celebration, we have Desh Bhakti Divas, which was observed all across states. Now, on July 28, Desh Bhakti Divas was observed all over Assam to commemorate the death anniversary of the freedom fighter Torun Ram Phukon. Now, events took place in multiple districts including Dima Hasa, Kukrachar, Kasar, Sipsagar, Jorhat and Sonitpur, including Dibrugarh, like this. Now, on the 31st of July, we have international. Now, India will emerge as a global player in the sunrise sectors. Now, Prime Minister Narendra Modi, speaking at the Journey Towards Viksit Bharat conference at the Vigyan Bhavan, emphasized India's emerging leadership in sectors like semiconductors, electronics and the green energy. So, we have different sectors like semiconductor, the electronics and the green energy, and so India wants to prosper in these new technologies because India wants to move forward in terms of the clean energy, and we had made considerable amount of progress in this. Now, Modi expressed confidence that India will soon be a major global player in sunrise sectors. Sunrise sectors mean the solar energy, the kind of energy that we harness from the solar. Now, he highlighted India's status as a high growth but low inflation economy, contrasting it with the low growth and high inflation of many nations. Now, Modi praised India's fiscal policies and significant increase in the union budget. Now, Prime Minister urged Indian industry to seize emerging opportunities, noting that global investors are increasingly interested in India. Yes, but here the difference is that we do not have easy access of business, we do not have ease of business, and this GST thing is actually killing many new enterprises. So these are the certain new changes that a government must consider before allowing the foreign investors or other businessmen to grow, because many businessmen have actually left India and shifted their business to the other countries. Why? Because they have been totally against the income tax which has been collected by the government, because our income tax rate, only 2% of people in India pay income tax, because majority of the people do not earn the same level of money as these 2% of people earn. But in spite of that, the corporate tax is also not higher. The corporate tax is very low in compared to the income tax. So the problem is that we have to give this much of income tax, but the corporate tax is very low. So why not increase the corporate taxes? So those are the certain calculations which many new enterprises they make, and then since they consider that not giving the income tax here, and then they shift their business outside. So in spite of giving all these things in the budget and taking making big statements, the government should actually reconsider doing something really valuable and something really good for the upcoming enterprises. Now, Modi government says that we need to include the MSME sector more and more. We need to promote them more and more. But the MSME sectors are not able to flourish the same way as was expected because of the many tax regimes. These aggressive tax regimes are actually killing all these new enterprises and the MSME sector. Now, the MSME sectors will can actually provide a lot of employment to the people that lives here. But if the government is not in a position to support the MSME sectors, so the growth of employment is not going to increase in the next coming years. And the corporate taxes is also very low. We need to increase that corporate tax. And Modi outlined key initiatives from the budget, including the industrial parks. establishing parks with plug and play facilities in 100 cities to boost manufacturing. Now for the manufacturing, I get it, this is the industrial parks for the manufacturing units or the manufacturing sector. Now India is lagging behind in the manufacturing sector. India is doing very good in the service sector but not in the manufacturing sector. So if we do something more good for the manufacturing industries, it is going to be very good. And majority of the manufacturing industries are actually located in the MSME sectors only. Now support for MSME, as I said, but at the same time green energy, we have to give utmost importance to the hydrogen and the electric vehicles and the critical minerals, like upcoming bidding for offshore mining blocks. Then skill development, focus on creative a skilled workforce through the PM's package. Now politics and the appointment, we have facilitating states development top priority. Raman Deka was appointed as new governor of Chhattisgarh, succeeding Bishwa Bhushan Harishchandra Deka, a former Lok Sabha member from Assam, and BJP National Secretary will be sworn in as the Raj Bhavan. Raman Deka. He will be the new governor of Chhattisgarh. Now Deka emphasized that his primary focus will be on accelerating the state's development and Chhattisgarh's mineral wealth and the cultural richness. Next, we have the sports and the society, which is drug-free India. So Saina Nehwal and Gautam Gambhir and many other sportsmen have participated in this drug-free campaign. Now Sony Sports Network, in collaboration with Indian sports icon, has launched the Is Baar Drugs Ki Haar. Now this is a good statement for you. You can mark it down if you need it. Is Baar Drugs Ki Haar, and this is promoted by Sony Sports and Entertainment Network. Okay, now prominent figures such as Gautam Gambhir, Sunil Chhetri, Sania Mirza, Saina Nehwal, along with other members and athletes like Smriti Mandhana, RS, PR Srajesh, and Manpreet Singh and Nikhat Zareen are spearheading this campaign. So this campaign is all about trying to bring awareness against the drug abuse. The campaign aims to raise awareness about the harmful effects of drugs, and the UN study highlights that 13% of drug abuse victims in India are under 20, with a 70% rise in the narcotic use. जो कोकीन फूकते हैं वो सारे लोगों का जो मात्रा है, जो ये है परसेंटेज है, दैट इज़ इंक्रीजिंग डे बाय डे 70%. अभी नार्कोटिक्स में एक्चुअली भांग को भी लिया जाता है. So that is why we can consider like this is a actually 70% rise, but nevertheless we can say this is a 13% of the drug abuse victims are actually from India. Now this is a very great disaster for our country, because Punjab has already been muggled up because of this drug problem. Now the Tripura is undergoing such problems. Many other states are also undergoing this problem. Even Assam is undergoing that problem. So this drug abuse problem has been a lot of catastrophic event among the youth population of India. So in order to prevent this drug abuse, we must bring awareness against the harmful effects of the drug abuse. Now targeting potential first time users, movement encourages them to choose sports other than the drug. Now if you encourage them to choose sports, now there are no much platforms to support sportsmen in India. I have seen that apart from the cricketers, not many sports actually get promotions. They don't get sponsorships. For example, chess. Now many of the people in India, they do have interest in chess, but they do not get sponsors to sponsor them outside the country. For example, similarly we have this some other sports, as you can say the javelin, or you can say some other sports, for example the hockey, or these are the kind of sports which do not get much sponsorship like the cricket gets, because cricket is one of the most popular games all over India, but the rest of the games are not encouraged to that level. So many of the sportsmen, what they have to do is they have to take loans in order to sponsor them for any kind of foreign trip or any kind of foreign events. So when they don't get sponsorship, it becomes really difficult for these kind of sportsmen to sustain in that sports business. So it becomes really interesting at some point of time that only cricket has been given utmost importance in this country and not other sports. So we need to build a ecosystem where the government or the other organizations can actually promote. But why the organization will promote if they don't see any returning business in it? So even people need to support these kind of sports, because when they are going to support it, the sponsors, the organizers, the organizations will already come up to sponsor these people in the different sports sectors. Okay. Now on the 1st August we have politics. Now Ismail Haniyeh, he was recently killed in Tehran as he was attending the swearing in ceremony of Masoud Pezeshkian, who has been elected as the new president of Iran. So when he was in Iran, while in the swearing in ceremony, he was targeted by an airstrike and he was killed. Now Hamas says that this has actually been created, that this attack was actually orchestrated by Israel, but Israel as of now has not claimed any responsibility for this attack. But Israel has claimed responsibility for attacking another Hezbollah. The Hezbollah, you can say the master of the Hezbollah, or you can say the leader of the Hezbollah, which was actually in the Lebanon. So his target was so this is what this happens. These two incidents are coincided by one another. The moment Ismail Haniyeh was attacked in Iran, at the same time the Hezbollah leader was also attacked in Lebanon. Now Israel has claimed responsibility for the Hezbollah attack, but Israel has not claimed responsibility for Ismail Haniyeh's attack. Now the Israel Defense Force announced that Mohammed Deif, a top Hamas military leader, was killed in an airstrike in Khan Yunis in Gaza. Now Mohammed Deif was also killed in Gaza, and this announcement coincides with the funeral for Hamas political leader Ismail Haniyeh. Now Hezbollah's leader Hassan Nasrallah also warned of escalating conflict following the death of their commander Fouad Shukur in a recent Israeli airstrike in Beirut. So he was killed in Beirut, Lebanon. Now US Secretary of State Antony Blinken has urged all parties to avoid further escalations to prevent a broader regional conflict. Now since Israel has not claimed any responsibility, I don't think this was actually orchestrated by Israel, because Israel was actually looking to kill Ismail Haniyeh, but they would have claimed responsibility for this, but they have not claimed the responsibility for this. So I think there's a much greater politics which is going on. Now for diplomacy, India-China hold forward-looking diplomatic talks. So senior officials from India and China held the 30th meeting of the Working Mechanism for Consultation and Coordination on India-China Border Affairs. Now the talks described, the talks have been described as in-depth, constructive and forward-looking, and to resolve the outstanding issues on the line of actual controls. Now, India and China, even though they are saying that they are on a forward-looking diplomatic ties, they want to settle their disputes, but some way or the other they are not. They are still in that mindset that, they are still in that aggressive mindset. Now, ICC conclave discusses sustainable energy solutions for Northeast India. This is a major initiative for Indian chemical industry, because the Department of Chemicals and Petrochemicals, Ministry of Chemicals and Fertilizers and Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change and Government of India all have supported these kind of initiatives which is conducted by Indian chemical industry. Now further inspired by clarion call by our Honorable Prime Minister on the COP, which is Conference of Parties 26 of the United Nations, framework conventions on climate change and enunciation of 5 commitments, the Panchamrit, which is set the roadmap of the country and its commitment to support the global goals to mitigate the impact of the climate change. The 2-day event will host senior representatives from India and global companies, government officers, multilateral organizations, chemical industry bodies and academic experts to discuss trending issues and opportunities. Now the strategies are very much good, because they are having decarbonization, net zero transition, digital transformation, then green growth, cleaner energy, safety promotions and product stewardship. Okay. Now given India's global commitments to mitigate climate change, reduce carbon footprints and enhance the use of renewable energy and promote sustainable corporate operations, the Sustainable Conclave holds greater significance. Now we have on the economy, India and Vietnam have signed a free trade pact. Now during his 3-day visit to India, Vietnamese Prime Minister Phan Minh Shin proposed exploring a free trade agreement to boost the economic ties between the two countries. Because we know this is a very good opportunity. India already was marking on a journey on the look east policy. So this look east policy, Vietnam can be a good destinations for our exports. Now at the Vietnam India Business Forum, now increasing bilateral trade, now they have decided to increase up to 20 billion. So as of now, from the locust policy, India has majority of the trade relations with Singapore, but the sad reality is we are importing more from Singapore, but we are not exporting it. So we need, in when we do business with the other East Asian countries, with the Southeast Asian countries, we need to remember that we need to create a balance between the import and the export. So this is what the main message of the new economic policy is, because we are importing more and more from Singapore, even though we are doing a great deal of business with it, but we are importing more. So this is not a good idea. So we need to give more, we need to create a balance between the import and the export. Now the strategic infrastructure projects, including transportation, energy and climate infrastructure. Now Shin also encouraged Indian business to invest in Vietnam, a stronger pharmaceutical partnership, 33% of its pharmaceuticals from India. Now more and more Indian pharmaceutical companies will get a chance to establish their own laboratory and their own production unit in Vietnam, which can be a good business between the two countries, because since India is already a medical hub, so 33% of the pharmaceuticals goes to Vietnam from India. Okay. Next, additionally, they inaugurated a new flight route between Ahmedabad and Da Nang. That means directly from Gujarat to the Vietnam, we can have a direct flight. Now, I don't know why everything is being given to Gujarat, but we need to establish, because since we are talking about look-east policy, so Northeast India should have been included here. So I don't agree with what this Prime Minister has done to it, but from Northeast India to the rest of the Southeast Asian countries, the Southeast Asian economies, the flight should have been there. But since the flight is from Ahmedabad, which is from Gujarat, it does not make much sense. But this can also be a thing, because majority of this can be also a thing to encourage more and more Gujarati businessmen to go and do business in Vietnam. But one way it is good, but on the other way this is only like promoting the Gujarati businessman. So Prime Minister Modi somewhere is only promoting the Gujarati businessman. He's actually not promoting the Marwadis, and then there are others, the businessmen and all. This meeting followed recent discussions between Indian External Affairs Minister S. Jaishankar and Chinese Foreign Minister Wang Yi in Astana and Vientiane, where they emphasized the need for full respect of the LAC. Now, the ongoing tensions, which began with a violent clash in the Galwan Valley, have seen more disengagement, but unresolved issues remain. So, they are talking about the now governance. We have Morrigaon among one of the top performing districts of the state. Now Morrigaon district has advanced to the 6th position in the CM's dashboard, a tool assessing district performance across 16 departments. So it has scrolled up to the 6th position. Earlier it was on the 23rd. So this is like one of the greatest leap. So from the 23rd position they have come to the 6th position, all the way to the 6th position. So this is a very great news for the Morrigaon district. And in terms of the governance, the Morrigaon local administration has been doing very good. The district's success with a score of 72.09 is celebrated by locals and praised for the effective leadership and performance of its administration. So this was the news from the 27th to the 2nd of August. So I hope you all have enjoyed today's sessions. If you have anything to say, please comment down your comments below, and we will again meet next Sunday. Till then, take care and all the best.